The Munsters, 1964 to 1966, was a one-of-a-kind sitcom that blended classic monster movie charm with wholesome family comedy. With an unforgettable cast led by Fred Gwynne, Yvonne De Carlo, and Al Lewis, the show became a beloved part of television history. However, as the years have passed, many of the talented actors who brought these quirky characters to life have sadly left us. From main cast members to memorable guest stars, their contributions continue to be celebrated by fans around the world. In this video, we pay tribute to 43 actors from the Munsters who have tragically died, honoring their incredible performances and lasting impact on entertainment. Fred Gwynne played Herman Munster in 1964 at the age of 38, portraying the towering yet gentle-hearted patriarch of the Munster family. His deep voice, comedic timing, and warmth made Herman an unforgettable character, though his Frankenstein-like appearance masked his childlike innocence. Before the Munsters, Gwynne found success in Car 54, Where Are You?, but after the show, he struggled to escape the shadow of Herman. His personal life was equally painful. His marriage to Jean Reynard ended in divorce after nearly 30 years, and he suffered the devastating loss of a young son who drowned. Another of his children was born with a mental disability, further adding to his emotional burdens. Though he found later success in My Cousin Vinny, he never fully escaped his struggles with typecasting and personal grief. In his final years, he battled pancreatic cancer, retreating from the public eye. He passed away on July 2, 1993, at 66.
I hope you're not going to start that again, Herman.
Well, she's your niece, you know. She's your sister's kid. Nobody on my side of the family ever looked like that.
Yvonne De Carlo played Lily Munster in 1964 at the age of 42, embodying the graceful yet eerie matriarch with charm and sophistication. Before the Munsters, she was a Hollywood leading lady, starring in films like The Ten Commandments, but by the 1960s, her career was waning, and she took the role of Lily to provide for her family. Her marriage to stuntman Robert Drew Morgan was filled with hardship, especially after he suffered a serious injury that left him disabled. The financial strain and emotional toll led to their divorce. De Carlo faced even greater heartbreak when one of her sons died from a brain hemorrhage, a loss that devastated her. In her later years, she struggled to find meaningful work, taking on minor roles to stay afloat. A series of strokes left her frail, and she spent her final days in a nursing home, largely forgotten by Hollywood. She passed away on January 8, 2007, at 84 from heart failure.
If we don't make an effort to be a little bit more friendly with the people in this community, we're never going to attract any young men to this house.
Well, for Marilyn's sake, I'll try.
Good.
Al Lewis portrayed the eccentric and quick-witted Grandpa Munster in 1964 at the age of 41, bringing boundless energy to the role. His character, a vampire mad scientist with a mischievous streak, was a fan favorite, but the success of the Munsters ultimately trapped him. Though he continued acting, he was often cast in roles that echoed his iconic grandpa, preventing him from pursuing a broader career. His personal life was marked by struggles despite his long marriage to Marge Redmond, with whom he had 3 children. He suffered the devastating loss of one son, a tragedy that cast a shadow over his later years. Financial troubles forced him into making frequent public appearances at conventions, which he both loved and resented. His health declined severely in old age, and diabetes led to the amputation of his leg, leaving him physically weakened and emotionally drained. He passed away on February 3, 2006, at 82.
Poison apples, poison bananas, poison fruit salad, poison enchiladas, poison peas.
Beverley Owen played Marilyn Munster in 1964 at the age of 27, bringing a wholesome, girl-next-door charm to the role of the family's normal yet unintentionally out-of-place member. However, she was deeply unhappy with the job and left after just 15 episodes, hoping to escape a career she saw as unfulfilling. Though she continued acting, she never achieved great success. Her personal life was also filled with disappointment. She married writer John Stone, with whom she had 2 children, but their marriage ended in divorce. Struggling with depression and a career that never lived up to her aspirations, she withdrew from the public eye. Later in life, she battled ovarian cancer, enduring years of suffering. She passed away on February 21, 2019, at the age of 81, her final years marked by illness and the regret of an acting career that never reached the heights she had once dreamed of.
Such thing as monsters?
Credit for his capture goes to Police Chief Harris, who used himself as bait by disguising himself as a woman.
Harvey Korman took on the role of Dr. Leinbach in The Munsters in 1964 at the age of 37, portraying the absent-minded doctor who was frequently baffled by the Munsters' peculiar ways. Though he later gained fame on The Carol Burnett Show, Korman's career was a roller coaster of success and disappointment, plagued by insecurities and struggles with self-worth. He married Marianne Edwards, and they had a daughter, Lillian, but his relentless work schedule and personal battles led to a strained relationship. Arguments became frequent, and the marriage eventually ended in a bitter divorce, leaving Korman feeling disconnected from his family. Despite his comedic brilliance, he struggled with periods of depression and loneliness, made worse by declining health in his later years. He underwent several medical procedures, but complications arose, leading to his death on May 29, 2008, at the age of 81 from a ruptured abdominal aortic aneurysm.
I think that the boy has obsessive juvenile fantasies coupled with an overstimulated psyche. In other words, he is...
Chet Stratton played Clyde Thornton in The Munsters in 1964 at the age of 54. Portraying the nosy and skeptical neighbor whose interactions with the Munsters often led to comical misunderstandings. Though a gifted character actor, Stratton never achieved true stardom, spending most of his career in small television roles that failed to provide long-term stability. He married Elizabeth Monroe in 1958, and they had 2 children, Charles Jr. and Victoria. However, their marriage was fraught with tension, worsened by financial struggles and Stratton's growing frustration with his stalled career. Their relationship deteriorated, leading to a painful separation in 1969, leaving him emotionally and financially devastated. As roles became scarcer, he faced deep depression and increasing isolation. He turned to alcohol to cope, further straining his relationships. On July 7, 1970, at the age of 59, he suffered a fatal heart attack.
Been some help to you. I mean, there have been hundreds of ghosts in our family, but never a ghost writer.
Paul Lynde played Dr. Edward Dudley in The Munsters in 1964 at 38, portraying the eccentric psychiatrist whose confusion over the Munster family's odd behavior added to the show's humor. While known for his sharp wit and unique comedic style, Lynde's real life was far from the laughter he brought to audiences. He struggled with severe alcoholism and deep personal insecurities, exacerbated by an industry that often rejected him for being too unconventional. He married Cassandra Bell, but their relationship was filled with heated arguments and emotional distance, ultimately ending in a bitter divorce. He had no children and found it difficult to maintain close relationships, leading to a lonely and reclusive existence. His drinking worsened, and his behavior became erratic, further alienating him from Hollywood. On January 10, 1982, at the age of 55, he was found dead in his home, having suffered a fatal heart attack.
Your uncle like?
I couldn't get him in focus too well without my specs. All I'm sure of is he was 9 feet tall and had a penguin with him that turned out to be his grandfather.
John Carradine took on the role of the eerie Mr. Gateman in The Munsters in 1965 at the age of 59. Mr. Gateman, Herman Munster's boss at the funeral parlor, was characterized by his macabre sense of humor and stern demeanor, adding a darkly comedic element to the series. Carradine's career was prolific yet tumultuous. Despite appearing in over 200 films, he often found himself typecast in antagonistic roles, leading to financial instability. His personal life was marred by turmoil. Married 4 times, his first marriage to Ardenelle McCool ended after a series of miscarriages and alleged abortions, resulting in a bitter divorce and custody battles that saw his children placed in foster care. Tragedy struck again when his third wife, Doris Grimshaw, died in a fire caused by a cigarette. Carradine's later years were plagued by crippling rheumatoid arthritis, and he passed away on November 27, 1988, at the age of 82, due to heart and kidney failure.
Well, your parlor has become his home away from home.
Really, I'm afraid my mind is made up.
Oh, but you can't take all this away.
John Fiedler took on the role of Warren Bloom in The Munsters in 1964 at the age of 39, portraying a timid and mild-mannered character whose nervous energy played well against the Munsters' outlandish antics. Though a respected character and voice actor, Fiedler often felt overshadowed, struggling to break free from the small, typecast roles he was offered. He married Margaret Hale, and they had 2 children, Emily and Thomas, but the marriage was emotionally distant, leading to an eventual divorce. Though he continued working steadily, his later years were marked by declining health and increasing solitude. Diagnosed with cancer, he endured painful treatments but withdrew from public life, preferring to suffer in silence. In his final months, he was largely alone, with few visitors or family by his side. On June 25, 2005, at the age of 80, he passed away, leaving behind a career of quiet contributions to Hollywood, though he never truly received the recognition he longed for.
Well, hello there. I'm Mr. Bloom, your postman. Mind if I ask you a question?
Not at all.
Jane Withers appeared in The Munsters in 1964 as Fanny Pike at 38, the nosy and paranoid neighbor who provided comedic tension with her constant suspicion of the Munster family. She had been a beloved child star in the 1930s and 1940s, but as she grew older, Hollywood had little interest in her beyond nostalgic cameos. She attempted to reinvent herself, taking on voice acting roles, but the transition from childhood fame to adult stardom was never fully realized. In her personal life, she endured 2 failed marriages, the most painful being her first to William Moss, which ended in a messy divorce after claims of emotional neglect. Though she had 5 children, her personal relationships were complicated, and at times, she struggled to balance motherhood with a dwindling career. Health issues plagued her later years, and as her eyesight deteriorated, she withdrew from public life. She passed away on August 7, 2021, at the age of 95, from natural causes.
I'm Marilyn Munster.
Well, I just happen to be Mrs. Pike.
Val Avery, who played the shady and mysterious Marty in The Munsters in 1964 at the age of 40, brought an air of menace to the show, adding layers of intrigue and dark humor. In real life, Avery's journey was shaped by deep personal and historical trauma. Born as Sebuder Abrahamian, his family had fled the Armenian genocide, an event that left deep scars on his psyche. Though he carved out a niche in Hollywood as a character actor, often playing gangsters, criminals, and corrupt officials, he never achieved true mainstream success. Despite appearing in over 100 films and 300 television episodes, he was often overlooked, his performances praised, but his name rarely remembered. His marriage to actress Margot Stevenson was relatively stable, but the weight of his unfulfilled ambitions and the ghosts of his past haunted him throughout his life. His later years saw fewer roles, as younger actors took over the roles he once thrived in. He died on December 12, 2009, at the age of 85, from heart failure.
Terribly sorry, but I couldn't go anywhere with you gentlemen.
Listen, nobody chickens out in this outfit, see?
Please, I'm very ticklish.
John Hoyt played Barney Walters in The Munsters in 1964 at the age of 59, portraying a mild-mannered and timid character who often found himself perplexed by the bizarre but lovable Munster family. A classically trained actor with a deep, authoritative voice, Hoyt had an extensive career in film and television, appearing in Spartacus, The Twilight Zone, and Star Trek. However, despite his undeniable talent, he was frequently cast in minor roles, never achieving true stardom. His personal life was equally unremarkable. His marriage to Dorothy Oldman Haveman was distant, and they had no children. As he aged, loneliness consumed him, and his declining health forced him into isolation. Diagnosed with lung cancer, he spent his final years battling illness and solitude, with few visitors and little recognition for his decades of work. On September 15, 1991, at the age of 85, he passed away, his legacy largely forgotten, overshadowed by the bigger names of Hollywood's golden age.
As I understand it, Mr. Curtis, you represent Cunningham Aeronautics.
We were happy to cancel our quick trip to Mexico to talk.
Willis Bouchey portrayed the stern Mr. Bradley in The Munsters in 1965 at the age of 58, playing an authoritative figure whose interactions with the Munster family emphasized their unconventional but good-natured existence. Bouchey was one of those actors who appeared in countless films, nearly 150, but never quite achieved stardom, often stuck in the background as judges, officials, and military officers. His career was steady but unremarkable, and Hollywood never granted him the recognition he desired. Little is known about his personal life, as he kept it largely private, but reports suggest he never married, leading a lonely existence outside of his work. The lack of a family may have added to his struggles in his later years, as health issues began to mount. By the time he reached his 60s, work had significantly slowed down, leaving him in quiet obscurity. He passed away on September 27, 1977, at the age of 70, from heart failure.
Whose hobby was putting together do-it-yourself people kits.
Well, go ahead, Eddie. I want our principal, Mr. Bradley, to hear all of this.
Claire Carleton portrayed Yolanda Cribbins in The Munsters in 1964 at the age of 51, bringing sharp wit and arrogance to her role as the judgmental neighbor. A familiar face in film and television, she appeared in The Best Years of Our Lives and Gunsmoke, but she was often typecast as loud, brash women, preventing her from securing more prestigious roles. Despite years in Hollywood, she never reached leading lady status, a fact that deeply frustrated her. Her personal life was tumultuous. She married briefly, but the relationship ended in heartbreak, and with no children, she faced her later years alone. Struggling financially, she was forced to take smaller, less dignified roles to survive. In her final years, she was diagnosed with cancer, a battle she fought in solitude, as former colleagues and friends drifted away. She died on December 11, 1979, at 66, her passing barely noted by the industry she had dedicated her life to.
Well, hello there.
Mrs. Cribbins, hello there. I was just on my way over to see you.
Oh, you naughty boy, you...
Marge Redmond played Miss Hazlitt in The Munsters in 1965 at the age of 41, portraying a kind-hearted and understanding character who brought a touch of normalcy to the otherwise eccentric Munster world. Best known for her role as Sister Jacqueline in The Flying Nun, Redmond had a steady but unspectacular career, often playing supporting roles rather than leads. Her marriage to actor Jack Weston lasted for many years but was strained by long periods of separation due to their careers. They had no children, and as time went on, Redmond slowly faded from the public eye. By her later years, work had dried up, and she withdrew from Hollywood entirely. Declining health left her increasingly frail, and she spent her last days in a nursing home, far removed from the entertainment world she once thrived in. She passed away on February 10, 2020, at the age of 95, largely forgotten by the industry she had spent decades serving.
Excuse me, lady. Could you help us? Oh, you poor...
Henry Beckman played lead food baler in The Munsters in 1965 at the age of 44, portraying a cocky and competitive drag racer who provided an element of adventure to the series. A highly skilled character actor, Beckman appeared in Gunsmoke, Peyton Place, and Here Come the Brides, but despite his versatility, he never found true fame, remaining a supporting player throughout his career. His marriage to Cheryl Maxwell lasted for decades, but his frequent absences due to work led to emotional distance, and though they had children, he regretted missing much of their upbringing. The greatest tragedy of his life was the loss of one of his children, a sorrow that haunted him for the rest of his days. As he aged, roles became scarce, and financial difficulties mounted, leaving him struggling in his final years. He passed away on June 17, 2008, at the age of 86, his once steady career reduced to mere footnotes in Hollywood history, his contributions largely unrecognized.
Oh, boy, that's the oldest looking teenager I ever saw.
That's Eddie and his dad.
Oh.
Johnny Silver played Blinky in The Munsters in 1964 at the age of 46, portraying a quirky, offbeat character whose eccentric humor added a whimsical charm to the show. Though he had a long career in television and film, he was forever typecast in minor, comedic roles, never breaking into the stardom he longed for. His life behind the scenes was filled with struggle. His marriage to Gloria Manos eventually ended in estrangement, leaving him mostly isolated in his later years. His only son remained distant, their relationship fractured by Silver's constant work and absence. As his career declined, so did his financial stability, forcing him into a modest lifestyle far from the glitz of Hollywood. In his final years, he battled severe health issues, suffering from heart and kidney failure. With no major fortune or family by his side, he spent his last months in a nursing home, largely forgotten by the industry he had dedicated his life to. He passed away on February 1, 2003, at the age of 84.
I give you a legitimate offer, you've got to take it, right?
Well, I'm afraid he's got you, boss. Okay, but you gotta meet the price.
What is it?
Pat Harrington Jr. portrayed Sonny Harkness in The Munsters in 1964 at the age of 35, bringing charm and charisma to his role as a smooth-talking character. Though he later gained recognition for his role in One Day at a Time, much of his career was marked by inconsistency, with brief moments of fame overshadowed by long periods of struggle. His personal life was equally tumultuous. His marriage to Marjorie Gortner ended in a painful divorce, leaving emotional wounds that never fully healed. While he had 4 children, his demanding career often distanced him from them, and family relationships remained strained. In his later years, he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, a cruel affliction that slowly erased his memories and sense of self. Once known for his sharp wit and humor, he eventually could no longer recognize his loved ones, spending his final days in a care facility, lost in confusion. He died on January 6, 2016, at the age of 86.
His discoveries in Egyptology. A perfectly preserved sarcophagus from the 18th dynasty.
And you have reason to believe that it's never been opened?
No evidence of grave robbers, and the tomb it came from.
Joyce Jameson played Lou in The Munsters in 1965 at the age of 38, bringing a vibrant and energetic presence to the show. However, off-screen, her life was marked by deep sadness and disappointment. Though she was a talented actress, Hollywood repeatedly pigeonholed her into roles as ditzy blondes, preventing her from achieving the serious, dramatic success she desperately craved. Her personal life was equally unstable. Her marriage to songwriter Billy Barnes ended in heartbreak, and her later relationships, including one with Robert Vaughn, were fraught with disappointment and emotional pain. Struggling with loneliness and depression, she turned to alcohol and prescription drugs to cope. By the mid-1980s, her career had all but faded, leaving her in emotional and financial despair. On January 16, 1987, at the age of 59, she died by suicide, overdosing on pills in her home.
Dark green. Dark green. And he looks like a what?
Gary Owens played the confident Dick Willett in The Munsters in 1965 at the age of 31. Portraying a suave and assured character whose charm often led to humorous and lighthearted moments with the Munsters. Despite his signature deep voice and smooth delivery, Owens struggled to break free from typecasting, often confined to voiceover work rather than the leading roles he had hoped for. He married Arleta Markell, and they had 2 children, Scott and Chris, but his workaholic tendencies created emotional distance in the family. Though he was beloved as the voice of Space Ghost, behind the scenes, he suffered from worsening health due to diabetes, a condition that plagued him for years. As his career declined and his health deteriorated, he withdrew from public life, haunted by a sense of unfulfilled potential. On February 12, 2015, at the age of 80, he succumbed to complications from diabetes.
Just pulled these this morning. All right. A really different singer.
Different singer.
A simple, unaffected voice.
Simple, unaffected.
A modern-day minstrel.
Modern-day minstrel.
Richard Deacon portrayed the strict Borden T. Pike in The Munsters in 1964 at the age of 42, embodying an authoritative and exasperated figure whose interactions with the Munsters provided comedic tension. A talented character actor, he was best known for his roles in The Dick Van Dyke Show and Leave It to Beaver, yet he was never able to secure a leading role, a fact that weighed on him deeply. Privately, Deacon lived a lonely and secretive life, never marrying and carefully guarding his personal affairs. It was widely speculated that he was a closeted gay man at a time when being openly homosexual in Hollywood could destroy a career, leading him to live in fear and emotional isolation. As he aged, his health declined, and with fewer roles available to him, he became increasingly withdrawn. On August 8, 1984, at the age of 62, he suffered a fatal heart attack, dying alone and uncelebrated. A man whose talents were undeniable but whose personal struggles left him deeply unfulfilled.
Hello.
Mr. Munster?
Lynde Watkins played the elegant Lydia Gardner in The Munsters in 1964 at the age of 56, bringing grace and sophistication to a role that humorously contrasted with the Munsters' peculiar world. Her early career in silent films and theater had promised stardom, but as Hollywood evolved, she found herself relegated to secondary roles, never achieving the fame she had once aspired to. She married Gabriel Hess, and they had 2 children, but their marriage was filled with tension and separations, leaving Watkins to navigate much of her personal and professional life alone. In later years, she suffered from declining health and financial difficulties, forcing her to take roles beneath her talent just to make ends meet. Despite her struggles, she remained dedicated to acting until her body could no longer keep up. On October 31, 1976, at the age of 68, she suffered a fatal heart attack, passing away quietly, a once promising star whose career never quite reached its full potential.
Dear, you're exactly the way I pictured you. Such poise, such ethereal beauty. You're like something out of this world.
Bill Quinn played the attendant in The Munsters in 1965 at the age of 53, portraying a diligent and observant worker whose interactions with the Munsters often emphasized their eccentric nature. Though a seasoned actor with a career spanning decades, Quinn never found true recognition, frequently relegated to minor roles in films and television. His professional life was marked by endless auditions and disappointments, with fleeting moments of success never leading to lasting stardom. He married Mary Catherine Roden in 1935, and they had a daughter, Jenny, but his demanding career and emotional struggles created distance within the family. Quinn battled feelings of inadequacy and regret, drowning himself in work to avoid facing his failing personal life. His later years were plagued by illness and the gradual loss of his ability to perform, leaving him feeling useless and forgotten. On April 29, 1994, at the age of 81, he passed away from natural causes. Grant Williams played Dick Prince in The Munsters in 1964 at the age of 33, portraying a dashing and charismatic figure whose confidence added sophistication to the series. Despite early success in The Incredible Shrinking Man, his career soon faltered, with Williams struggling to maintain his place in Hollywood. As leading roles disappeared, he was forced into lesser television appearances, a devastating fall from the promising star he once was. He never married and lived a lonely life, unable to form deep connections, often retreating into solitude. Financial struggles and depression followed, with Hollywood turning its back on him as he faded into obscurity. In his final years, he suffered from severe health complications, neglected and without close family to care for him. On July 25, 1985, at the age of 53, he died from peritonitis, a painful and tragic end for a man who had once captivated audiences but died forgotten and alone. Helen Kleeb played the first woman in The Munsters in 1965 at the age of 58, portraying a kind and gentle character who provided a contrast to the Munsters' oddity. Though she had a lengthy acting career, she was perpetually cast in minor roles, never breaking into true stardom. She married John Gerald O'Leary in 1950, but their union was marked by long periods of separation due to her work commitments. The couple had no children, and Kleeb often lamented a life without a family legacy. Despite her cheerful on-screen persona, she suffered from deep insecurities and an overwhelming fear of irrelevance. In her final years, she became increasingly reclusive, watching younger actors take the roles she once wished for. On December 28, 2003, at the age of 96, she passed away from natural causes, a woman whose kindness was undeniable, yet whose dreams remained unfulfilled. Who is your favorite character in the Munsters? How do you feel knowing that the actors have passed away? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you don't miss future videos. Thank you so much.